You step outside, and the first thing you notice is the quiet. It's not a peaceful quiet, it's a heavy, unnatural stillness. The familiar chatter from the feeder is gone. The rustling in the bushes has ceased. The air, which just moments ago was filled with the complex chorus of your backyard, now holds only a deep, unnerving silence. It feels like an emptiness, a void where life used to be. But this silence is not an absence. It's a presence. It's a signal, a shared message passed through the community of birds, in a language older than our own. When all the birds in your yard go silent, it's because they are trying to tell you something, and learning to interpret that silence is the first step toward understanding the true health of the world just outside your door. This quiet is a conversation that has suddenly stopped, and our task is to discover why. To become a detective in our own backyard, decoding the signals that range from the immediate and obvious to the slow and invisible. Often, the answer is right above you. A shadow passes. A flicker of movement in a high branch. This is the most common reason for a sudden collective hush. An aerial predator is near. A Cooper's hawk, or its smaller cousin, the sharp-shinned hawk, has made your yard its hunting ground. These birds are specialists, perfectly adapted to navigate the tight spaces of suburban trees and gardens. When one bird spots the threat, it doesn't just flee, it sends out an alarm. The response from the others is immediate and unified. They freeze, they dive for cover, and, most importantly, they stop all vocalizations. This is a defensive strategy, an acoustic blackout. By falling silent, they deny the predator the auditory cues it uses to locate prey. The silence is a shield, a collective act of self-preservation. In a few minutes, once the danger has passed, a brave chickadee or a bold robin will sound the all clear, and the yard will slowly return to life. But what if there is no hawk? What if the sky is clear and yet the silence persists? Sometimes, the quiet is simply part of a natural rhythm. The morning chorus, that beautiful symphony at dawn, is primarily about defending territory and attracting a mate. Once those messages have been sent and received, the birds conserve their energy. The midday heat brings a natural lull as they rest in the shade. There is also a deeper, seasonal quiet. In late summer, after the exhausting work of raising their young is done, most songbirds stop singing. They begin their annual molt, replacing worn-out feathers with a fresh set for the coming migration or winter. A molting bird is a vulnerable bird. With gaps in its wings, flight can be clumsy and inefficient. It becomes reclusive, hiding in dense foliage, trying to remain unseen. This period of hiding can last for weeks, turning a once lively yard into a quiet refuge. The silence can also be a forecast. Birds are exquisitely sensitive to their environment, especially to changes in the atmosphere. They can sense a drop in barometric pressure long before we can, a clear sign that a storm is approaching. When they feel this change, they enter a conservation mode. They feed intensively and then disappear, seeking shelter in dense shrubs, evergreen trees, or man-made structures. Their sudden absence is not an abandonment. It's a wise and ancient preparation for what is to come. Sometimes, however, the silence points to a more troubling cause, one that begins where we try to help them the most, the feeder. A bird feeder can be a lifeline, especially in winter, but if not maintained, it can become a vector for disease. You might notice a finch that seems lethargic, its feathers puffed out, or one with swollen, crusty eyes, unable to see clearly. These are signs of common illnesses, like salmonellosis or house finch conjunctivitis. When a sick bird visits a feeder, it can contaminate the surface and the seed, creating a hotspot for infection that can devastate a local population. The birds don't just get sick, they disappear, either succumbing to the illness or avoiding the source of it altogether. The dangers we create are not always microscopic. Sometimes they are as clear as glass. From a bird's perspective, the window on the side of your house is not a solid barrier. It is a perfect, seamless reflection of the sky and trees. It's an invitation to fly through to the habitat on the other side. The result is a collision, and it is tragically common. Up to 1 billion birds die from window strikes each year in the United States alone. A significant number of these fatal encounters happen at our own homes. The silence that follows is the sound of a life cut short by an invisible, unintentional trap. And then there are the poisons we introduce by choice. The chemicals we use to pursue a perfect, uniform lawn can have devastating consequences. Neonicotinoid pesticides are particularly harmful. They are systemic, meaning the poison is absorbed by the plant, making its every part, from root to leaf to seed, toxic. A bird that eats a treated seed can suffer from tremors, paralysis, or death, but the indirect effect is just as damaging. These chemicals also decimate insect populations. For the vast majority of backyard birds, insects are not just a snack. They are the essential, protein-rich food they must feed their nestlings to survive. A pristine, insect-free lawn is, to a bird, a food desert. They fall silent because they can no longer find the means to raise a family. Consider, too, the world of sound that birds inhabit. Their calls are not just pleasant background noise, they are vital for communication. It is how they find a mate, defend a territory, and warn of danger. Now, imagine that world constantly interrupted by the low rumble of traffic, the drone of leaf blowers, and the din of construction. This constant noise pollution masks their calls, forcing them to sing louder and at higher pitches, expending precious energy. The stress of living in a world where you cannot be heard can lead to lower reproductive success and, eventually, to birds abandoning an area altogether. Finally, we must zoom out. The silence in your yard can be a local echo of a much larger story. The single greatest threat to birds in North America is the loss of their habitat. Studies have shown that a huge share of our bird species have seen their populations decline in recent decades. This isn't just about vast forests being cleared. It happens at a smaller scale, too. The removal of a single large mature tree or the clearing of a patch of native shrubs to make way for more lawn can fundamentally alter the local ecosystem. It removes a critical source of food, a safe place to nest, and a vital stopover for migrating birds. They go quiet because their home has, piece by piece, been taken away. So what does it truly mean when your yard falls silent? It means your yard is an ecosystem, and the birds are its most sensitive indicator. Their silence is a gauge of its health. It can signal an immediate, passing danger or the deep, natural rhythm of the seasons. But it can also signal the presence of disease, the unseen hazard of a window, or a landscape slowly being starved of the food and shelter birds need to survive. The silence is a diagnosis. But here, in this small patch of the world that you tend, you are not powerless. You have a measure of control. The silence is not a final verdict. It is an invitation to act. The solutions are grounded, practical, and deeply effective. It begins with the feeder. Keep it clean. A simple solution of 1 part bleach to 9 parts water is all it takes to disinfect your feeders and prevent the spread of disease. Do this regularly, and you transform a potential hazard back into a healthy resource. Look at your windows. See them as a bird does. Break up the reflection with patterned film, decals, or even simple string hung on the outside. This small visual interference can make a world of difference, turning a deadly illusion into a visible obstacle. Rethink your lawn. Let go of the pesticides and herbicides that poison the food chain from the bottom up. A few dandelions or clover flowers are a small price to pay for a yard that is alive with the hum of insects and the birds that feast on them. Then, give back what has been lost. Plant native species. A berry-producing shrub, a flowering dogwood, or a mighty oak provides infinitely more food and shelter than any exotic ornamental. Leave a corner of your yard a little wild. A brush pile offers instant shelter from a hawk. A layer of leaf litter on the ground becomes a foraging ground for towhees and wrens. And finally, add water. A simple bird bath, especially one with a small bubbler or dripper, is a magnet for birds. The movement and sound of water is an irresistible draw for drinking and bathing, and can attract species you've never seen before. Slowly, as you make these changes, the life returns. First, a lone chickadee at the cleaned feeder. Then a pair of goldfinches at the water bubbler. A robin pulls a worm from the pesticide-free soil. The sound comes back, note by note. And you realize the song is more than just beautiful. It is the sound of a healthy, functioning ecosystem. It is the sound of life. You have learned to read the silence, not as an ending, but as a guide. You learned what it was telling you, and in doing so, you learned how to bring back the song.